Hello, I'm Cherry Potts and I own Arachne Press, and I would like to welcome you to our celebrations of our 8th anniversary with the launch of our 8th anniversary celebratory anthology, No Spider Harmed in the Making of This Book. 8 years ago, when I started Arachne Press, I was searching for a suitable name and I came up with a short list of 5. I wanted something that felt like it had some history and a strong female statement of intent. So I sent this list of 5 to everyone I knew who had anything to do with publishing. So authors, creative writing tutors, librarians, publishers, printers, bookshop owners. Opinion was fairly evenly divided. But then someone, who shall remain nameless, came back and said, anything but Arachne because I hate spiders. And other people who hate spiders won't buy the books. And I thought, really? Really? And being of a contrary nature, that made up my mind for me. Arachne was on the list in the first place because we wanted our website to be integral. And because, as a writer myself, I often use spinning and weaving as a metaphor in my writing. And because one of my very first published stories was Arachne's Daughters, which is a lecture given by a spider, probably in semaphore, at an archive meeting of the Arachno Lesbian League, 13 years after the revolution. We're still waiting. Fast forward 7 years and watching the historic judgment of the Supreme Court in rejecting the legality of the prorogation of Parliament, I was entranced by Lady Hale's spider brooch and texted my partner Alex, who was outside the court, "It's going to be all right, she's wearing a spider." A completely illogical response, but as I turned off the TV and went back to my desk, I thought, time for a spider anthology. And, ooh, it's our 8th anniversary next August. I was not expecting many stories or poems. I don't expect people to share my enthusiasm for spiders, and I was resigned to publishing a slim volume of 8 poems and 8 stories, and possibly having to include Arachne's Daughters. But no, this was the biggest response we've ever had to a call out, despite my strictures to avoid horror, and that no spider should die except possibly heroically. So, thank you to all of those writers who upheld my faith in human nature, and an especial thank you to Lady Hale for inadvertently giving me the nudge to celebrate spiders properly. Tonight's entertainment involves a large number of authors who are reading their own work, and 4 that have been translated into BSL by Marcel Hirshman. 2 of them are also read, 2 of them are just in BSL, and as you may have noticed, Marcel's been working away in the corner. It's going to last about an hour and a half. I'll do a brief introduction to each of the authors just before they read. 1 or 2 of them did it for themselves. Well done, thank you. But for those who didn't, I will be doing that, a little biographical introduction. I should also say a huge thank you to all the authors we published over the last 8 years. Far too many to name. I think there's 500 of them now. That's what happens when you do anthologies. But seriously, writers, poets, authors, however you name yourselves, arachnids, thank you really for joining our web. Kate Foley is a widely published, prize-winning poet and president of the Suffolk Poetry Society. Her working life has ranged from delivering babies to conserving delicate archaeological material. She now lives with her wife between Amsterdam and Suffolk, where she performs, writes, edits, leads workshops, and whenever possible works with artists in other disciplines. We have published Kate in The Other Side of Sleep, Liberty Tales, Time and Tide, and we published 2 collections by Kate, The Don't Touch Garden and A Gift of Rivers.
Spin is the Dutch word for spider, and spin it does, running out a miniature steel hawser mooring small creatures to its dangerous harbour, spin, as days do, and their small cousins minutes and seconds that tumble from a basket of hours. What if they won't? What if they clutter and cluster, a bundle of grey hairs, threads from a net of dreams? What if they wriggle and fidget like veins on the hills of old hands? Bah! Twist them round your fingers and wind into the strong red rope of memory, says that strict governess, time.
Katherine Black is an audiologist and a writer. She adores multicoloured pens, stories featuring giant and or friendly spiders, and almost anything at 2 a.m. She lives in Maryland, surrounded by very tall and occasionally judgmental trees, along with her family, their cats, and her overworked coffee machines.
Hi everyone, I'm Katherine Black. I'm excited to be reading from my story that appears in the excellent anthology, No Spider Harmed in the Making of This Book, out now by Arachne Press. Even people who'd been accidentally turned into giant murderous mutant spiders, by Katherine Black. Don't you dare take a bite of that popcorn. You can't have forgotten what happened last time. Clyde, entomologist eternal, looking out for all bugs, even for the annoyingly large mutant arachnid who ate them last year. Frickin' exhausting. Shh, I hissed. It's been tested and well established that we cannot carry you home. Have you forgotten? Maybe Junie can. Shh, came from several seats around the movie theater, where the handful of other patrons, the clueless human patrons, were trying to enjoy the Tuesday morning showing. If only they could hear Clyde too. Maybe their shushes would have more effect on my torturous spectral companion. I'm quite certain that if we human spirits can't move your body, neither can the cat spirits. Damn professor wasn't gonna let it go. I waited until the movie shifted into a loud fight scene before speaking again. Dude, you don't know though. Admit it. Clyde's icy stare felt like a stab through the side of my exoskeleton. I'm just going to smell it, okay? I dipped a leg into the bag and milled it around, savoring the rustling sound, before raising my toe to my face. Popcorn stuck to the tuft of stiff hairs between my claws. Soaking in the chemical signature of my former favorite food, a wave of ecstasy flooded my insides. Salt, beautiful salt, floating on familiar undercurrents of fake butter and fabricated preservatives. I could get downright drunk off the stuff. Clyde took a deep breath and deflated. It was all for effect, of course, since ghosts have no lungs. I never would have dissolved and drank Clyde's lungs all those months ago, along with the rest of their insides, if I'd known they'd turn out to be such a constant pest. I admit I was stupidly slow in realizing that human meals were an awful idea, but after Cheyenne, I'd absolutely sworn off biped dinners. But then the professor came bumping and bumbling into my junkyard lair, thinking they were being sneaky and quiet. A foghorn would have been more subtle. And, well, I thought I had no choice, and I suppose I didn't. If I hadn't killed them, they would have trapped and exploited me for their own professional gain. Oh, I'm not just guessing I would have ended up a pathetic lab rat, or lab spider in this case. They've admitted more than once that that had been their plan, until I decidedly foiled it. You're no lab spider, sure, but pathetic. Shut it, Clyde. Shh. Look, the best part of the movie is coming. Cheyenne hovered somewhere around my right side. The army is about to invade the monster's lair. My money's on the token female soldier with ample bosom and bare legs, screaming and running away at the first sight of blood. Luckily you don't have any money to lose. The horror of this flick isn't the frickin' giant centipede or the all too familiar abandoned subway. It's the excruciating 1950s style misogyny and bigotry. Cheyenne had been the very last time I ate a smart, forward-thinking human. I beg your pardon? Oh, come on, Clyde. I think our spider is quite perceptive. Now I stick to cats, as often as possible, who, as it turns out, make ideal ghostly companions. They check in with a mew now and then before dashing off to run amok in the theater, scurrying through warm bodies, giving unsuspecting theater patrons a jolt of mysterious chills that nicely accentuates the whole horror movie experience. They entertain. And more importantly, they don't lecture me on the dangers of eating popcorn. Lone applause came from the back of the theater as the first soldier on the screen was killed, crushed under the tail of the monster centipede, after which the female soldier ran from the battle, but not before a monster leg slashed open her shirt in the front. Cheyenne called it. Of course. She had a point. Frankly, the completely unnecessary sexism, racism, and crap were seriously hindering my enjoyment of these creature flicks. I mean, it's no easy feat sneaking in here, disabling security alarms with nothing but 8 clumsy claws, crawling quietly on ceilings and crumpling my body into shadows that were few and far between. Yet I went to all that trouble, week after week, so I could experience the simple joy of a basic monster flick. All this pointless, derogatory, stereotyping nonsense they threw into the mix, though, it soured the edges of the whole experience, made me leave with a crummy taste in my mouth half the time. A sharp pain shot down one of my back legs. My abdomen pressed against a bolt or something in the next seat, and my spinnerets chafed against the rough carpeting. I shifted in the handicap seating area, but that only made it worse. It was so hard to sit like a person. Watch it, Rye. Your cloak is slipping. Crap. Hooking a claw into the hood, I tried to pull the cloak back over my cephalothorax. Yes, Clyde now has me using all the proper terms. It wouldn't budge, stuck between my cramped body and the seat to my left. I shifted until it suddenly gave way too much and slipped over my top 4 eyes. Damn it, it was so disorienting to lose my surround vision. And damn it, I was missing a big fight scene while I grappled with the stupid thing. Thankfully, I righted the cloak before any serious explosions in the movie lit up the theater, exposing the head of the giant Arachnid sitting just a few rows away from the other innocent patrons, who were just there to enjoy a movie in peaceful solitude, and who were definitely not there to accidentally discover an enormous mutant spider person, and then be eaten to keep the spider person's secrets safe. Giggles danced behind me. Gertie rarely piped up. Popcorn stuck in your hair, boss. Thank you.
All right. Listen up. It's Incy Wincy here. Now, there's this new book. It's all about spiders, isn't it? Eh? Now I'll tell you something. I'm very disappointed. 'Cause I ain't in it. Eh? Me. Incy Wincy. Now get your head round this. Incy Wincy. That's a sort of joke nickname, isn't it? Eh? It's like the way they call little people lofty and really big people tiny. And me, they call me Incy Wincy. Eh? Incy Wincy. Itty bitty. Teeny weeny. But I'm not. I only just got out of that spout. It's a tight fit and took a lot of water. But back to that book. I'm not in it. I'm gutted. Eh? Arachne's in it. Ariadne's in it. Eh? They're all in it. But not me. So why on earth would you want to go and buy a book called No Spiders Armed in the Making of This Book? Eh? 'Cause there was a spider armed, wasn't there? There was me. My feelings was armed. So I can't for the life of me think why you would want to go to arachnepress.com/shop and buy a copy of the book. You look at that. Would you? They've even put a flaming caption across my face. There's no respect anymore. You don't want to mess with me.
Daniel Olivieri is a writer and programmer living in Philadelphia. He likes to take the lint out of the dryer.
Hello, my name is Daniel Olivieri. I will be reading my story, Revenge, One JSTOR article at a time. Start with the definition. Web spider, a program or automated script which browses the World Wide Web in a methodical, automated manner. I gave up my thorax, my spinneret, my jackknife celleri decades ago. It's 2070. Corporeal bodies are passé. Now I spend my days stepping from URL to URL, scanning through innumerable HTML divs, and holding up in a nice secure domain like YouTube or Bing when I need some rest. In any given 5-second interval, I've probably passed from the Wikipedia page on Gorgons to a JSTOR article on the origins of fear and Greek drama, to the Encyclopedia Britannica entry on Sophocles, to the OED entry for the term Aristeia. I leave the pages mostly intact. Lacking a physical body to carry things with, I travel light. I keep only 2 things with me. One is a list of keywords. The other is what to do when I find them. Look, I found a term now. The sentence reads, rather than fleeing trial, Socrates chose to stay in Athens and face his fate. The term of interest here is Athens. In the past, when I found something I didn't like on my web, I'd bite it with my pincers and double wrap it in gossamer. These days, I just do this. I replace Athens with Corinth. And with that one Python command, I've cut Athens right out of the page. From now on, this site will maintain that Socrates died in Corinth. It's all the same, really. No one's been to Earth in a dozen years, much less Greece. Athens is an obscure memory now. Credible historians disagree on whether Athens was destroyed in the 3rd or 4th World War. In the next article, I discover a reference to Minerva. I slice that one as well, replacing it with a goddess of my own invention, Caloria. Sometimes I spell her name with a C, sometimes with a K. The little nuances are what make it feel real. Caloria's eyes are red instead of gray. She always got along with Poseidon. She was born from Hera, not Zeus. More importantly, Caloria never had much interest in weaving or in punishing people for being better at it than her. When I was first uploaded to the net, the first articles I visited were the ones which mentioned Athena's weaving competition with Arachnid. Those pages I didn't bother to edit. Instead, I sunk them 404 to the bottom of the internet. I still remember that weaving competition. The very first hackathon. Sure, we were spinning thread into tapestries rather than colorful words into code. It was the same idea, though, rearranging material to convey information. Whether you do it with strands of thread or ones and zeros, the concept is the same. It hadn't mattered how deftly I'd used my distaff, though. Athena had rigged it. Gods tend to do that, or at least they used to. Athena rigs very little these days. She She likely would have been the goddess of code, the hacker supreme, if he lasted long enough. As it so happens, humans stopped worshipping her long before Ada Lovelace or Aaron Turing came along. Without the goddess herself around to interfere, I may do with Athena's memory as I please. What I please is revenge. Where Hephaestus brought Athena into existence by hacking her out of Zeus's head with an axe, now I'm eliminating her by hacking her name off the internet one site at a time. Who's the better hacker now? Thank you.
Jackie Taylor is originally from London, but has lived and worked in rural Cornwall for the past 20 years. She has several jobs and writes when she can, mainly short stories and poetry. Her short stories have appeared in various publications, most recently in Dyslexia and Stories for Home 2 anthology, and for us in Dusk.
Hello, I'm Jackie Taylor, and I'm reading Goodbye Spider from No Spider Harmed in the Making of This Book, published by Arachne Press. Goodbye Spider. You stop after we've crossed the main road and tell me that it's okay. I don't need to walk you right up to the school gate from now on. Thanks, but no thanks, you say, in your 8-year-old, old-fashioned way. Okay, that's fine, is what I say back, but what I really say inside is no, not okay. You're dressed as a spider. Of course you are. And off you go, and you turn and wave before you disappear round the thick, hedgy corner by the gate. Goodbye. I wave back and pray that in the dark, hidden corners of the school you'll find your friends. The sort that look after you, have your back, stand up for you, whatever, whenever you need it. Proper friends, not like the school gate mums who can exchange a look and raise an eyebrow both at the same time and without moving a single muscle. Superpower or what? Please find friends. This is what I always pray, or something like. So there's no need to walk you right up to the school gate any longer. Okay, that's fine. I'm guessing that I embarrass you a bit, a lot. Or you want to be alone. I get that, me too. Or you want to protect me. No need. I know already that school equals terror. And off you go and turn and wave, and you're dressed as a spider. Of course you are, because that's the costume I made. I offered you tiaras and wings and pink and silver and shiny, but you wanted black and spider. Of course you did. So cheap, fake fur that sheds all over the laminate, and ta-da, drum roll, off you go. And I'm proud, stroke terrified, as the other kids in 2s and 3s and 4s and more stream round you, my little spider. You turn and wave from amongst the princesses and pirates in their beautiful costumes bought from shops, and you shedding small tufts of black fake fur all over their polyester. Your spider thing, it makes total sense from when we lived in the van and we used that wildlife haven, aka shower block, peeling whitewash and completely open to the elements, more or less. We made stories about the spiders, do you remember? Our van more like a nest, and you and me wrapped in blankets, making stories together to fill the stretched out nights. I knew everything about you then. It's so different now they've moved us to town and the flat with a bedroom each and a hallway between us and double glazing that separates us from outside. And who knew that school isn't just your kid going to school, it's shed loads of other stuff too. Baking, dressing up, making things. There's always something that you don't want to do and I don't want to do, but it seems like we have to do to fit in, sort of. I gave your spider costume a tail. Why not? So I'll just cross the main road with you from now on and watch. I'll always pray that in the dark and hidden corners of the school you'll find the other spiders, that you'll find each other, that they'll be your friends, that you'll protect each other. This is what I'll always pray, probably, or something like. You turn and strands of black fake fur fly up and catch the sun. You're inside a silver halo and you wave out at me.
I'm Ms Muffet, and I'd like to welcome you to my kitchen in the beating heart of what was my Curds and Whey empire. Oh, I'm retired now, so I'd like to share a secret, a commercial secret about the recipe for my Curds and Whey. I stole it from a spider. All that tuffet nonsense about me being frightened away, it was all a smokescreen. There you have it. My empire is based on a lie and a theft. And I owe it to the spiders to come clean and to make recompense. So I am pleading with you to help me do that and buy their book. Arachne Press will help you to help me. So just go on the web. Yes, I know, to arachnepress.com/shop and purchase a lovely copy of their simply gorgeous book, No Spider Harmed in the Making of This Book. Oh, isn't that a lovely title? No harm. Yes, so help me help the spiders. Buy the book. Thank you so much. Okay, will that do? I mean, I have said sorry 1,000 times. Okay, I stole it. Please, please forgive me. Well, look, I'll tell you what I have done. I have got you a really nice collection of flies. Oh, come on. You can't resist a nice packet of blue bottles, can you?
Surrounded by gnomes, gargoyles and poisoned plants, Katie Wagner writes fiction in the garden of her Maple Ridge, British Columbia home. She enjoys daydreaming and is a collector of strange plants, weird trivia and obscure tomes.
Hi, I'm Katie Wagner and I'm joining you from British Columbia, Canada. I'm thrilled to be part of No Spider Harmed in the making of this book, and I am reading Across the Dark Void. The spiders have multiplied. The constant tinny hum of the spaceship masks their noises, but they're there, lurking at the edges of my vision. I turn my head and they disappear into crannies. Eradication is no longer a possibility, if it ever was. There are too many. Over the weeks, I've generated plausible excuses for my lack of action. The loneliness stayed my hand. I had a concern I might compromise the scientific equipment. Just yesterday, I typed, "The cosmic web mesmerized me," into the log. All correct, but none reflect the truth. Ground control is not trustworthy. I don't mention the distension of my cheek or the swelling that's closed one of my eyes or the heaviness in my limbs despite zero gravity. Maybe that's why I finally switched off the internal monitoring cameras. The second week out, I coated the camera lens with dry lubricant, but a crawling unease whispered I may not have found them all. The engineers didn't provide much room for a human crew when determining the cargo capacity of the space shuttle. The ideal pilot had to be under 65K and relatively healthy. The latter qualification meant free of plague antibodies, and it reduced the available pool to less than a dozen. All of us women. Conveniently, that suited the needs of the colony. They rounded us up and placed us in isolation. Never too many baby breeders. My words, not theirs. I didn't protest. On Earth, exposure to the plague is only a matter of time. Perhaps I could scrape together the cash to pay for drugs to slow the progression, but it only delays the inevitable. The shuffling, mindless late stages of the disease don't bear thinking about. Nobody says it out loud, but the colony looks like the last hope for humanity. I wasn't ground control's first or second choice. Maybe not even their third, fourth, or fifth choice, given the shortness of my remaining reproductive years. However, in the final stages of launch preparation, one of the loading crews bit the pilot's arm. By the time the security detail reached them, he'd gnawed through to the bone. They sent someone to retrieve their second-choice pilot from her cell and found her dead. Apparent heart attack. I now think the spiders had something to do with it. Ground control had released many of us the evening before. They found me as I trudged along the railroad tracks, heading to check out a rental at a nearby trailer park. The previous night, there'd been another meteor shower, and I'd lain in a field to watch it. It tired me out, and I curled up amongst the corn stalks and slept there. Odd. I never used to sleep very well. This journey is one way. At first, I dreamed about those I left behind. Now, I barely remember their names. In the event of my death, the sleeping pod is designed to preserve my organic matter. Ground control didn't tell me this. I think the spiders must have. I trust them. I avoid the pod. For the first 2 weeks of the journey, I slept in the pilot's seat. When I noticed a funnel web deep between a container labeled mycorrhizae and another labeled cyanobacteria, and I took to securing my sleeping bag to the shuttle window. The lights dim automatically every night cycle. I lay my face against the quartz glass, gaze into the expanse, and wait on dreams. The smooth surface cools the heat on my cheek. Contrived reality, a dry rustle of a voice in my head. It cackles. The line between asleep and awake is no longer a certainty. The monitors might tell me, but I've stopped looking at them. The warning lights irritate me. I break a couple and an alarm goes off. My head pounds. Hours later, the shrieking finally stops. This might be the last supply run Earth manages. The plague spread faster than predictive, and a cure is elusive. A group of scientists blamed the first meteor shower, but no one believed them. If they weren't all dead, they'd probably be saying, "We told you so." A team of government scientists claim the ship's cargo will help address the terraforming issues the colony struggles with. The technicians sounded nervous as they explained this to me. Or maybe the microphones on their hazmat suits distorted their voices. All around me are biocontainers of fungus, microbes, plants, and insects. The spiders are particularly happy to be aboard. I'm not a biologist or even a scientist, just an ordinary pilot. My job was to manually steer the shuttle past the dark side of the Mars. I fulfilled my duty. Now I am mostly excess cargo. If I survived the rest of the journey, 8 long months, my genetics could further diversify the colony, but I'm not interested in bearing children. I don't think the colonists will be either. A jab of panic accompanies this random thought. More and more they are intruding, and I stretch my arms in an attempt to dissipate my anxiety. Space sick, nothing more. It will pass. Orb webs edge the rim of the window, cloak the control panel, and mute the annoying autopilot lights. Funnel webs bridge gaps between containers. The webs glow a faint, iridescent purple. Or maybe the swelling around my eye is affecting my vision. I've still not seen a spider, but their webs are everywhere. They're here and waiting. The spun fabric of the universe unfolds around the ship. The blacks and pale beiges of the early weeks have evolved into kaleidoscopes of swirling color. Reedy, garbled voices twist through static bursts from the ground. Ground control continues to issue their shrill, petty orders. It wasn't difficult to rotate the receivers slightly away from both Earth and the colony. The shift could be explained by the buffeting of space wind. Important because ground control still has access to life support and other essential systems. Caution is best, for now. The spiders are working on a solution to silence Earth. I pace around the pilot's chair, a kind of bouncy lurch that gives me something to do and maybe, perhaps, staves off bone density loss. My fingertips brush a web. The strands are sticky and soft and not unpleasant. I run my hand through the silk and gather it into my fingers. Long ago, I lay next to grandmother and looked up while she spun fiber. I hold my hand out like a drop spindle, though I don't trust the memory. It feels new. I rub the web silk between my fingers and the oils from my skin smooth and shape it into a narrow roll. My rhythm improves the less I concentrate. I spin a fine lavender blue filament. Grandmother would be proud, except I'm pretty sure both my grandmothers died before I was born. I gather more silk. Hours, perhaps days, float past. Calm replaces anxiety. Acceptance replaces calm. Throbbing in my cheek brings me back to myself. I hang center ship facing the window and the galaxy. Earth is no longer visible, but one planet is less than insignificant among centillions of celestial bodies, a speck on a mote of dust. The web is complete, a spun dream catcher. It connects everything in the ship to me, and through me, them. I wriggle and the movement shivers out along the strands. My cheek burns and prickles. Seeking relief, I rub it against the web. A crawling sensation spreads across my face. I close my eyes. The pressure in my cheek lessens. The receiver spits out an angry burst. I open my eyes. A few spider babies still scurry through the web, but most have settled in. The shuttle continues on its journey to the colony, our new home. Thank you.
Jennifer Rood lives in the Pacific Northwest, where she teaches English at a small alternative high school. There she reads poetry every day to her students and encourages them to write and publish their own work. She can't be away from poetry for too long without needing to immerse herself in it again. Okay, we're going to take a brief break now because we couldn't upload everything in one file, unfortunately. But it does mean you've got an opportunity to have some cake. This is our Arachne 8th anniversary special. It is a curds and whey cake using curds and whey from Ms Muffet. Enjoy.